Okay, so yeah, so as network engineers, when you start working on networks, you realize that you'll be working on devices, and some of these devices could be a switch, which is something like this, could be a router, which is something like this. It doesn't mean a router is round, it's just the symbol that's round. So switch, router. Now, normally when you want to configure a device, it's either some devices, whether switch routers, there are few ways you could do that. Some of them have GUI, graphic user interface. Some of them use CLI, and some of them you use what we call scripts, maybe automation. So that's where Python comes in, netconf, resconf, ansible, napalm, all these scripting things like automation. You write some commands and or some instructions and it will do everything for you. But normally on Cisco devices, when you buy it, what you have, oh sorry, I didn't add HTTPS. That goes to the GUI as well, HTTPS, like a website interface. So normally when you buy a Cisco device, you are confronted with a CLI. All you see is this when you buy a Cisco device. That's all you see. You see this. And the first thing you see on a Cisco router is this. This one, when you first buy it, you see, if it's a router, you see router, mostly, not all of them. And then you see a symbol like this. This is the first thing you see. That's the only thing you see on the device. This is it. There's nothing else on the device, just this. And so I'll just pick something that we've not touched, a new one we've not done anything on, and then I'll use that as my example. Okay, let me bring a new one. So when you first buy it and you check it, it will load. It will be like this. It will be loading. So just like we have um, PCs like Windows and it loads and all that. Technically, this is what you see when you first switch on a device, like a router. They'll ask you, do you want to do initial dialog? You say no, and then that's it. You press enter. Then you have this. This is all you have to yourself. Now, we're going to think about it from a different angle. I know command line is a bit difficult, so sometimes when I'm teaching command line, I want to make sure that people, it's about making sure that you understand the logic behind command line, because there's going to be a lot of commands, but if you understand this logic, you'll be fine. Let's assume you come to my house or my office, which most of you will do. Um, the first day you come to my office, my office complex, this is me sitting somewhere, and this is the reception, which is Eric. I think Eric is the receptionist. Okay, so when one of you comes to the office, where will be the first place you go to? The first place you go to is the reception area.
The reception.
Exactly. And so the reception area on a router is where you have that symbol, this thing. You can say, in my own words, I'll say this is the reception area. Yeah. Think about it logically. This is like Eric sitting in that area. This is Eric's office. This is Eric's office. And how do we know it's Eric's office? Because of this symbol. Eric has a logo for his building, his office. That's so. Anytime I ask you where, we know that we are in Eric's office because this is Eric's symbol. That's the reception area. This place we call it the user mode. User mode. Sometimes you hear people say console mode. This thing, this area, we call it user mode. that reception area, user mode, yeah, user mode or console mode, anyone. This is where, so when you get to the reception area, the only thing you can do there is ask of me, and then they will show you another door. Now, when you get to the other door, that door is the door to my office. When you enter, you can sit down. Let's assume you want a job. You sit down in my building. So the very moment you get to my building, my office, yeah, the only thing you can do is you can be looking at my office because that's the first time you've come there. So you can see, this guy has nice pictures on the wall. So, he has nice furniture. This is just what we call the privilege mode. You have the privilege to be in that office. Sometimes you hear people call it enable mode. So privilege mode is like you make is on a device. You're saying that it is the place where you have the privilege to see all the things that have been configured on the device. The first stage is just for you to get access to the device. So basically, the reception area is just for you to get access to my building. Then the privilege mode is for you to get access to my office, but then to see things, just to see. You sit there and look at things. Now, once you get a job, you go into a third place where the next time I come in, I'll see that I ask a question: Who moved this chair? You say I moved it. And that third stage or that last stage is where what we call the configuration mode. It's going to have something like this. We call it, sometimes you hear people say global configuration mode. So this is where you actually configure stuff. So my question is, we have three places on our device. We have the first one being the user mode, where I say we call it the reception area. We have a next stage. Look at the symbols, being the user mode. Sorry, the enable mode or privilege mode. The last one, which is where we actually the other modes, but these are the three main modes. This is the stage where you can do configurations. We call it global configuration mode. Yeah, global configuration mode. So user mode is for you to get access to the device. Because normally, in order for you to get do something on the device, you need to get access to the device. You have to be on the device. So this is the first stage. Enable mode is when you have the privilege to see configuration. Here, depending on your uh, privilege levels, we can it's up to 15 privilege level 15. So depending on the level of privilege you have, you can see some configurations, you cannot see some configurations. But let's assume that everybody can see every configuration if you are at privilege mode. Then global mode, we say that this is where you actually configure the device. Whether it's a switch or a router, you will have the three modes. So let's see. This is the first mode. This is the which mode is this? Anyone?
The user mode.
User mode. So now we want
Yeah, or the console mode.
Yeah, so now we want to move to the next mode, which is what we refer to as the privilege mode or enable mode. The funny thing is that the privilege mode or enable mode, when you want to go there, you have to just type enable and it will take you there. Yeah. Now the enable mode is where you can see, if you can clearly see this, you can see that the symbol, once we typed it, the symbol changed. Yeah. Now in this mode, you can see all the things that are configured on the device. Let's see. So when I do, don't worry about the commands for now. Today is for you to just know the different modes. So if I do show running configuration, show running config, it's going to show me all the configurations on the device. These are all the things they've pre-configured when we bought it. The version of the iOS. When we say iOS, Internet Network Operating System, that's Cisco's. It's just like we have Windows. This is Cisco's software for uh, the device. These ones are login and debugging and all that. And also this is for when you want your password to be encrypted. So any password you configure on there, you don't want it to be plain text, but it's shut, it's not on. It said no, meaning it's off. It doesn't, it's not, encryption is not enabled. The name of the device is called router, and we'll see all these things with time. You get to understand them. This is Cisco Express Forwarding. You don't need to worry about these two things, but basically these are configurations that are already configured on the device. And so this is the interfaces we have. Interface 0/0. There's no IP address. The interface is shut down. So every time we add IP address and we click on that box to turn it on, what we're doing is we're telling the system to not be shut down. It should be no shutdown. And there's no IP address. Anytime we put IP address and the subnet mask, it will come on this line. And so if I compare this to the other one that we already configured, nobody to do what I'm doing anyway. We've already configured. You see that for the one we've already configured, we already put the IP address, the 192.168.2.126, and this is the subnet mask. That's something you're going to learn. You see that this one has a shutdown, but this one doesn't have a shutdown. If it doesn't have a shutdown, it means that the interface is working, it's on. This is not having a shutdown, it means that the interface is on. But you can see that this is shut down, this is shut down, this is shut down. They are all shut down. And yeah, so basically these are the modes for the device. So now we are in privilege mode. The last mode is, what's the last mode? Anyone? Global configuration mode. So with global configuration mode,
Global configuration.
we say configure terminal. When we type configure terminal, it will take us to a different mode. This is global configuration mode. So this is where you actually change things. I'm going to change only one thing, and then you guys will have a chance to ask me questions. So I'm going to change the name of the device. I'll call it R1. So R1. So if I'm changing it, we'll say host name. That's the keyword. And then I'll say it's going to be R1. Don't worry about that. Now it's changed. So yes, this is the different modes. So we have three main modes. We have the first one, which is having this symbol, the user mode or console mode. We have the second one, which is the enable or privilege mode. We have this one, which is global configuration mode. Yeah, and I said that this is just for, it's like the reception area, access to the device. This is more like C configurations. This is where we do the configurations. Now, apart from that, in order for us to move from this mode to privilege mode, you cannot move from this one to global configuration mode. You cannot move from here to here. You have to first go here, then you go here. So we type enable, then it will take us to this mode. When we are here, we type configure terminal, and it will take us to the global configuration mode. And these are the three modes. Now we can move from one mode back and then go backwards. So now we are in global configuration mode, so we can go backwards. I'll do exit. Say if I do exit, if you want to go back one step, you do exit. So if you are moving, let's assume we are at global configuration mode. We want to go backward one step. We say exit. It will take us to privilege mode. So what happens if I do exit again?
It will take us to user mode.
Okay, sure. It's taking you to user mode. Like I said, you cannot move from user mode to global configuration mode because you have to go through it's invalid. You see? Sorry, I want you guys to see this. It's not allowed. You see? So you have to first of all go to enable mode, and then you go to global configuration mode. Yeah. Then the funny thing is, if you're going back, you can jump from global configuration mode to another mode. So if you do end, it goes back. But we'll see cases where it will take us back to the later on. You see that. For now, think about it like you cannot go forward twice. When we're going back, we're going back one step. Any question up to this stage? All right. So if there are no questions,
Yes, sir. My network is really worrying.
yeah. So this session is recorded as well. So if there are no questions, um, so this is global configuration mode. Now let me make way for other things as well. So one thing about um, CLI is that, especially Cisco CLI, there's a lot of commands. So if I tell you how many commands I have in my head, it will be more than 2,000 commands. But that's not what you should be focusing on. You should be focusing on what you want to do, and there's always a way to do it. So, for example, assuming we're in this mode, which is privilege mode, and you don't know what commands can be done in privilege mode, you press question mark, and it's going to tell you all the commands that you can do in privilege mode. So, privilege mode, which is this one, is telling you can do these commands. See, you can do all these commands in privilege mode. It's always, you can even, so let's try this. I don't think it'll work. Okay, so you can even check the files on the, because it's running on Linux, you can even check the files that are on the system. These are things that you don't need now, but this is the software that's running on the machine. This is the software that's running on the operating the iOS for this router. And there are a few things you could do on there. So these are so many things you could do, and most of them they have their meanings. You don't need to worry about these things because you will get to learn more. You can even create your own directory. So I'll say docs, and then if I do dir, it's telling you that there's a directory called docs. It's like technically it's a computer, but it's just doing specific things. So if I remove it, so I'll say remove docs, and then it'll ask me whether I want to remove confirm yes. And if I try that, but these are not things you'll be using regularly. On a regular, the kind of things you'll be using, so forget about this one. On the regular, the kind of things you'll be using will be from this mode. You'll be doing show, and then if you don't know what to do, ask so what do you want to see? You want to see show is for seeing some kind of configuration. So if you want to see show AAA, this is something outside the scope of this class. Access list, which is for CCNA, yes, you get to know that. ARP, CDP, these are all configurations. And so basically you can see a lot of configurations when you do that. When we get into the details, for now, I just want you to understand that even though we say we're going to be writing commands, it's not magic. You get to learn them. With time, you become experts in it. And these things are things that you just need to understand what you want to do, and that's it. Everything else you'll be able to do. Um all right. Any other question?